On May 6, 1937, thousands of people stood on the ground in New Jersey, looking up at the sky as a giant silver airship slowly descended through the clouds. It was the Hindenburg, floating, graceful, and almost unreal, like a city in the air. Cameras were rolling, reporters were speaking, and no one watching that moment believed they were about to witness one of the most shocking disasters in history. Then, without warning, a small flame appeared near the tail. In seconds, fire raced across the massive body of the airship, turning luxury into horror. A calm landing became a nightmare as the sky itself seemed to explode. Over the radio, a reporter's voice cracked in disbelief as he cried out words that would echo through history. Oh, the humanity. In just 34 seconds, the world's most advanced flying machine was reduced to a burning skeleton, collapsing in front of a stunned crowd. How could something so grand, so carefully engineered, and so trusted by the public fail so completely? Was it a tragic accident? Or did a hidden danger lurk inside the Hindenburg all along? To understand why the Hindenburg's destruction shook the entire world, we have to go back to a time when flying was still a dream, and the sky represented the future.
Welcome to Find the Stories. Please subscribe to the channel, like, share, and comment to support the channel.
In the 1930s, crossing the Atlantic by ship took days. But the Hindenburg promised something revolutionary: luxury, speed, and safety, all wrapped in a single magnificent aircraft. Inside, passengers dined in elegant rooms, listened to live piano music, and gazed out of large windows as oceans passed silently below them. It wasn't just transportation. It was an experience reserved for the wealthy, the powerful, and the hopeful. To many, the Hindenburg symbolized human progress at its finest, proof that technology had finally conquered the skies. Governments celebrated it, newspapers praised it, and the public trusted it completely. No one imagined that this shining symbol of the future was also carrying a fatal flaw, one that would soon turn mankind's greatest flying achievement into a warning written in fire. In the early decades of the 20th century, the world was obsessed with one idea: conquering the sky. Airplanes were still loud, unstable, and frightening to most people. But airships, massive, silent giants floating gracefully above the earth, felt different. They promised comfort instead of chaos, elegance instead of fear. No nation embraced this dream more aggressively than Germany. After World War I, Germany sought to reclaim its pride through engineering brilliance, and nothing symbolized that ambition more than the Zeppelin airship program. These were not just aircraft. They were floating monuments to human ingenuity, and at the center of this vision stood the largest and most ambitious airship ever built, the LZ-129 Hindenburg. The Hindenburg was a marvel beyond imagination. Stretching over 800 feet long, it was longer than 3 modern jumbo jets, placed nose to tail. Its aluminum frame was covered with a silver fabric skin that reflected sunlight, making it glow as it moved across the sky. Inside were 16 enormous gas cells filled with hydrogen, a gas so light it could lift this massive structure effortlessly into the air. Hydrogen was dangerously flammable, but at the time, it was the only option Germany had. Helium, a much safer alternative, was tightly controlled by the United States, and Germany was denied access to it. Engineers knew the risks, but they believed their design, procedures, and discipline would keep passengers safe. What made the Hindenburg truly extraordinary was not just its size, but its luxury. This was not a rough journey through the air, it was a flying hotel. Inside, passengers walked through elegant corridors, dined in formal restaurants, relaxed in lounges, and even listened to live piano music. Large windows allowed breathtaking views of the Atlantic Ocean, thousands of feet below. The airship carried wealthy travelers, diplomats, journalists, and celebrities. It was marketed as the future of transatlantic travel: fast, smooth, and glamorous. A trip that once took days by ship could now be completed in just 2 or 3 days, floating peacefully above storms and waves. The Hindenburg quickly became a symbol of national pride for Germany and a global icon of progress. Newspapers printed photographs of the airship, towering over cities, docking beside skyscrapers, or casting enormous shadows across the countryside. Crowds gathered everywhere it flew, stopping in their tracks to stare upward in awe. For many people, seeing the Hindenburg pass overhead felt like witnessing the future itself. Few questioned the hydrogen inside. Fewer still imagined that something so carefully built, so admired, could ever fail catastrophically. On May 3, 1937, the Hindenburg departed from Frankfurt, Germany, beginning what was supposed to be another routine transatlantic crossing to the United States. The airship had already completed dozens of successful flights, and confidence in its safety was high. On board were 97 people, passengers, and crew, who boarded with excitement rather than fear. For them, this was not a risky adventure, but a refined experience. As the Hindenburg lifted gently from the ground and glided into the sky, no alarms were raised, no warnings issued. Everything felt normal. Life aboard the airship followed a calm rhythm. Passengers enjoyed meals prepared in the galley, chatted in lounges, read newspapers, and gazed out at the endless ocean below. The engines hummed steadily, and the ship moved almost silently through the air. For many travelers, it felt surreal floating across the Atlantic in comfort, while the rest of the world struggled with economic hardship and political tension. The Hindenburg seemed untouched by those worries, existing in a peaceful bubble above them all. As the airship approached the United States, weather conditions began to change. Thunderstorms developed near Lakehurst, New Jersey, the naval air station where the Hindenburg was scheduled to land. The captain chose to delay the landing, circling offshore while waiting for the storm to pass. This was not unusual. Airships often adjusted schedules to avoid dangerous conditions, and the crew remained calm and professional. Inside, passengers were informed of the delay, but showed little concern. After all, the Hindenburg had faced bad weather before and always emerged unscathed. As evening approached, the storm finally weakened, and permission to land was granted. The airship turned toward Lakehurst, slowly descending as it prepared for docking. Ground crews waited below, ropes ready, cameras rolling, reporters speaking live into microphones. This landing was expected to be routine, just another successful arrival to add to the Hindenburg's flawless record. No one on the ground or in the air sensed that history was about to be written in fire. At 7:25 p.m., the Hindenburg hovered above the landing field, releasing ballast and adjusting its position. The crew worked quickly to bring the massive ship under control as winds shifted unexpectedly. Then, without warning, disaster struck. Witnesses later reported seeing a small flicker of flame near the rear of the airship. At first, it seemed insignificant, almost like a reflection, but within seconds, that flame erupted. Hydrogen ignited with terrifying speed. Fire raced through the gas cells, ripping across the airship's body like lightning. The Hindenburg's massive frame began to buckle and collapse as the fabric skin burned away. In just moments, the graceful giant transformed into a falling inferno. Passengers were thrown from their feet. Some leapt from windows in desperation. Others were trapped as the structure collapsed around them. On the ground, shock turned into horror. A radio reporter, broadcasting live, struggled to describe what he was seeing. His voice cracked, overcome with emotion, as he cried out words that would become forever linked to the disaster. Oh, the humanity! The airship crashed to the ground in flames, its skeletal remains glowing red against the night sky. In just 34 seconds, the pride of air travel was destroyed. Miraculously, not everyone died. Some passengers survived by jumping moments before impact. Others escaped through gaps in the wreckage. Crew members risked their lives to help others. When the fire finally subsided, the field was littered with twisted metal and burned fabric. 36 people were dead. The world watched in disbelief as photographs and newsreels spread across newspapers and cinemas within hours. The aftermath of the Hindenburg disaster was marked by grief, confusion, and intense investigation. Survivors were treated for burns and injuries, many struggling to understand how they had escaped when so many others had not. Their stories were heartbreaking accounts of sudden heat, collapsing floors, and desperate jumps. Families mourned loved ones lost in a tragedy that seemed impossible just minutes earlier. Investigators quickly began searching for answers. How could such a technologically advanced airship fail so catastrophically? Theories emerged almost immediately. Some believed static electricity from the storm ignited leaking hydrogen. Others suspected a mechanical failure or a broken wire. Rumors of sabotage spread, fueled by political tensions of the era. Was it an accident or something darker? Over time, evidence pointed toward hydrogen as the fatal flaw. A spark possibly caused by static discharge during landing ignited the highly flammable gas. Once ignited, there was no stopping it. The very element that allowed the Hindenburg to float so effortlessly had also sealed its fate. Public confidence in airships collapsed overnight. Flights were canceled. Projects were abandoned. The era of the gray airships ended almost instantly. The destruction of the Hindenburg marked a turning point in aviation history. Airships, once seen as the future, were now symbols of danger. Governments and companies shifted their focus to airplanes, investing in safer fuels and faster designs. Within a few years, airplanes would dominate the skies, reshaping global travel forever. But the legacy of the Hindenburg is more than a technical failure. It is a reminder of humanity's fragile relationship with progress. The airship represented hope, ambition, and confidence in technology, but also the consequences of ignoring risk. One spark was enough to erase a dream and change the course of history. Today, images of the burning Hindenburg still haunt us, not just because of the flames, but because of what they represent, the moment when the future fell from the sky. In 34 seconds, the world learned a painful lesson. Progress without caution can turn wonder into tragedy. And sometimes, the greatest disasters are born from the brightest dreams. As the smoke cleared over Lakehurst and the twisted frame of the Hindenburg cooled on the ground, the world quietly understood that something far bigger than an airship had been lost. This was not just the end of a single flight, but the end of an entire vision of the future. For years, humanity had looked up at these floating giants with wonder and confidence, believing technology alone could carry us safely forward. In just 34 seconds, that belief collapsed in flames. The Hindenburg became a symbol of both human brilliance and human overconfidence, reminding us that progress always carries risk, especially when danger is ignored in the pursuit of greatness. Its destruction pushed aviation onto a new path, one that would eventually make air travel safer, faster, and more reliable than ever before. Yet the echo of that burning airship still lingers in history, warning us that even the most magnificent dreams can fall if built on fragile foundations. The Hindenburg did not just crash to the ground that evening. It changed the sky forever.